You're listening to the Mind of a Boyfriend podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Mind of a Boyfriend. Ah man, this intro is fire! Fuego. Okay, so that part might have clipped and I'm sorry for your ears, but it's not like you're listening to anything beautiful at the moment. So, it is what it is. So, we've been talking about talking phases in the community and I guess it's time to bring that topic here because apparently it is as complicated as a situationship because no one can define what it is. So what is a talking phase? I think to the best of my knowledge, it's sampling out something before you even get like a full class. And then if you don't like it, you leave it. So basically that's a talking phase, which initially I thought was dating, but apparently it is not. So this comes before the dating where you're talking to someone, trying to see if you guys have the same energy, your vibes match, and they can type in full sentences. So basically, that's what the talking phase is. It comes before the actual dating, so it doesn't really have a lot of commitment. We had a debate about that because some of the things were purely painful to listen to because apparently some people expected way more from a talking phase, but it is what it is. It's just a talking phase. So I'm already highlighting some of the purposes of a talking phase, which is simply to get to know a person, get to see if the vibe is correct. And if it's not, there's no harm, right? I mean, literally, you're just talking to a person. It's like saying hi in an ET. You don't expect to take that person home unless if you're some other people. But anyways, so that actually birthed another conversation, which a lot of people didn't really like, but it is what it is, right? So are talking phases exclusive? By exclusive, I mean, are you supposed to only talk to one person? Or two, or three, or four, or maybe you're just starting a group chat at some point, or you're trying to campaign. I don't know. But then my sentiments on that were just quite simple. If you're sampling out different flavors and you're not really committing to cooking or whatever you do with flavors, you don't really have to like stick to one. Because what if you hate chocolate, right? And then you leave vanilla because you're focusing on chocolate. So it's just a talking phase. You're filtering. And then after that, you can start committing. That's where dating comes into play, where it's intentional with the goals of going in a relationship. So I think talking phases are the hello stages before you hang up that call that you get from strangers, right? So while we're on that subject, right, there are communication expectations that come into play when we're dealing with talking phases, right? At times you want to commit to a person for a long time. You give them your time. I'm guessing that's where you start filtering. If this person is too busy to talk to me, just how many tabs are open in their chat? Am I the only talking phase? Am I the boring one? Who am I competing with? What if Q is in the mix? Do you think you're going to survive that talking phase? So that's when the expectations get into play, the communication expectations. And usually from that, you can filter out, oh, this person is in a relationship, this person is married, this person is lying about everything they own. And then maybe you graduate to a dating period. But then there's some people who just slip from talking phase to baby mama, which is quite interesting. I don't know if it's morals or it's just being naive because we have met people who just treat every talking phase like it's kumbaya, it's the rest of the world. It's the end of the world. Or it's the end of that Disney film where the prince kisses the frog or the frog kisses the... I forgot how Disney things go. But there's some people who treat talking phases like that. Like the first person who says hello to them, they're already seeing the white wedding gown. They're seeing cakes. They're seeing raw water. I'm like, it's just a talking phase. Breathe. Breathe, okay? People can say hi to you and just want to know the time. Honestly, at times maybe they just want to use you or ask for favors, but no, you're already seeing weddings. Maybe that's why people get used, right? So that's expectations. And related to expectations of this whole talking phase, there is the emotional investment in it. At times you meet people, you vibe, and then you start thinking, hey, this person is the one. I have found my Prince Charming. And you think you're going to find a Prince Charming in Pumula. Man, grow up. Grow up. So that's when people start investing some emotions at times, because you've been vibing with this person. Maybe you're coming off a relationship, or you've been single way too long, and every other person that you talk to feels like they are the last person that you're ever going to talk to. And you start seeing wedding bells, which you guys should really stop, because weddings are not as simple as that, right? Marriage is tough. But that's a conversation for a different day. So emotional investments that come with talking phases. Maybe that's the reason why this debate is coming about. Like, hey, if people get invested so much, can you really call having multiple talking phases cheating? But how do you cheat on sampling, right? How do you even qualify it as cheating? Because you're not committed to any of these people. You're not dating any of these people. But hey, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So the next part that is crucial, if we're saying this comes before dating, how long does a talking phase last? Does it last a week, 2 days, high five and we're already dating? Or it lasts an eternity? Because there's some people who recycle talking phases and it's like their life's work. They are always in talking phases, never in a relationship. It goes past the phone to the meeting, and after the meeting is back to the first talking phase, which is kind of sad, really. Because if you're a serial datist, no one wants to be with you forever. You're like a weekend. Again, maybe not a weekend. Weekends are reserved for like baby mamas and other things. So maybe you're like a Thursday. No one wants a Thursday. It's like, what are you even? Right? So back to the duration of a talking phase. If this comes before dating, is it determined by the vibe you create, or you actually have a time frame? You tell yourself 21 days. Does that still work? Because phones make things faster. It made sense back in the day because you didn't really have to see each other a lot, but you literally on each other's faces through your phones. The emojis, the calls, the late nights. Wait, do you do late nights and still get dumped on a talking phase after sacrificing your sleep for a week? Man, that is tense. That is tense. But hey, before we move on to the next things, I want to give a big shout out to every person who's been listening to The Mind of a Boyfriend from the jump, and those that were following the blog. You guys are the real MVPs, and I hope you're all married by now. If you're not, I guess our advice is not really working. You should switch to other podcasts. Try listening to Zim News. It's depressing enough to push you into a marriage or believing that your partner loves you that much. So back to the conversation. Talking phases. Duration, I guess it really depends on how you guys vibe, right? It's not really something that's timed. Those are my thoughts and sentiments. You just vibe and you click, and maybe that's when the question, what are we, comes into play. Because what are you? I mean, how can you be doing a talking phase for that long? You're a grown person, unless, well, if you're still young at heart, you can do talking phases until you die. Happens to the most of us. And then at times it gets to a point where it feels like it's, well, manipulation, right? Because some people push a long talking phase just to get the cookie or just to keep spending the money. Sorry, I'm not equating sex and cookie, but these are the currencies that we have in this universe. It is cruel and it is just not nice, but it does happen. So maybe it is about manipulation, right? The longer you keep the talking phase, the harder they sink. The attachments get stronger, and you can lie to them. And maybe that's when girls have this urge to tell people they're dating you or they're in a relationship with you, because it's really painful to be in a month-long talking phase and this person doesn't acknowledge that you are an entity in their life. You just that girl is seeing you, yeah, right? So based on that, I guess talking phases should have boundaries. In the community, we had a discussion, right? We talked about this talking phase being a part where you know a person. So questions were asked. Is sex on the table? I did say this is like a high five, right? If you're talking sex, what are you doing? Just the tip? I mean, I think it should be common sense that if you're in a talking phase, don't make it physical. Yes, you're trying to know a person, but how many people are you going to know? If you're in 5 talking phases, are you just going to be high-fiving every dick that you meet? No, man. Boundaries, okay? Boundaries. That's when you discuss things. That's not when you start making future plans based on a whim. You can't be Simba and Pumbaa. It doesn't work like that, man. I don't know how those are related, but they were pushing things on a whim, or that song that says a whim away. I don't know, man. I am just trying to make some things work for me here, right? But now that we're here, boundaries are pretty crucial when it comes to these talking phases, because what exactly are you doing if you're not setting boundaries, right? Because at some point you're going to have to know, hey, this has gone on too far. I don't see where this is going. And then you move on. That's why they're talking phases, right? They have to die if they're not going into something progressive, right? And these things happen. But then we now live in an age where most of our things are online, right? How does that work now? Because you can talk to someone for 2 years and you meet them and it feels like the first time you're meeting them. But then you've been talking to them for a long time. You've been laying pipe. You've been laying pipe for a really long time. Now you have to put something through it. And that's the first time you're meeting. And it feels like the first time you guys ever talked, because you've never really had that physical contact. How does that even work anymore? Does it really continue as a talking phase, or the day you meet becomes a dating phase? Or you guys just meet and now you have babies and you forget you just met online and you've been strangers, but you just met, but you feel like you know each other because you've been talking on the phone for a year. Man, that is weird. But then again, relationships are weird, right? And then there's the issue of generational gaps. Do you think blessers do talking phases? Do you think the old people that you are chasing after do talking phases? Right? Because we're talking about talking phases, but this is a new term. It's fairly new to most of our dating spaces, right? So you might think it's a talking phase to you in the generation that actually relates, but then in the older generations, they're thinking, hey, I found the one, and you're still prolonging it. So how does that even work? Do you say it's a talking phase because it suits you? Or you guys have to agree that it's a talking phase? Because you might think it's a talking phase and then they start asking you for your uncle's details and where to send the cows, because that generational gap is quite different, right? So I'm just going to leave this episode right here because I don't want to curse. I haven't cursed this whole time. So if you are new to the Mind of a Boyfriend, these are the topics that we talk about: relationships, dating, and everything in between from the viewpoint of of a boyfriend. Oof, I almost lied there. But hey, mistakes are common, like you keeping that long ass talking phase. So yeah, peace out.